fellow language learning nerds, welcome to a new video. A video in which we're talking about manga! Yeah! It's finally that time again for me to talk about a book that I have read in Japanese. So this is a little series that I do, if you haven't seen it before, called My Japanese Bookshelf, where I show you each video a book either written in Japanese that I've read or a book about learning Japanese. So Japanese language themed stuff. Today I would love to talk about my brother's husband. This manga that I read recently, it's volume 1. I haven't read past this, so I don't know what the story or what it's like onwards. But yeah, I've read it and I want to talk about it. So first, the story is mainly about these three, with this guy Yaichi being the kind of the main character out of the main characters, if that makes sense. I say that because most of this volume 1 is from kind of like his perspective, though there's a couple of bits from Kana, the little girl who's his daughter, and Mike, who is his brother's husband. Now, the main premise for this story is that Yaichi had a twin brother who has recently passed away. They have not been in contact for many, many years. You're not given explicit details just yet as to why they haven't been in contact for so long, though you get a very strong feeling that it was to do with the fact that his brother was gay, but the exact details, you're not sure why. You don't know if there was this big massive argument and they split off, or whether it was a bit more, you know, things left unsaid and his brother left and just did not come back home. Anyway, his brother has recently passed away and his husband, Mike, has come to Japan to meet his family. It seems like the brother and the husband, the brother seemed to have promised Mike, who loves Japan, that he would take him to Japan one day, but unfortunately he passed away before that could happen. So Mike has kind of come to Japan to try and kind of fulfill that and meet his husband's family, who he has never met before. The kind of drama for this manga, at least for volume 1, comes from the internal conflict of Yaichi. The sudden appearance of Mike on his doorstep is bringing back a lot of memories, and I think through starting from here and then continuing on, I get the feeling that there's going to be a lot of him struggling to come to terms with his views and his thoughts and feelings on his brother and his brother being gay. He seems to, like, at first definitely he doesn't seem to like gay people. He definitely is like, oh no, it should just be a man and a woman in a marriage sort of thing. And Mike turning up kind of forces him to confront his thoughts and feelings about that. There's been, in volume 1, there's been, again, no characters directly having any conflict or anything. It's all internal. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know if it continues like that throughout the whole thing, but that is, for volume 1, that is more what it is like. The characters, I've mostly spoken about Yaichi, of him having a lot of internal conflict going through the story, but we have 2 other main characters. Mike, who is such a sweetheart. He turns up at the family house. He wants to see where his husband grew up. He wants to see the town where his husband had his childhood, and he is full of smiles. He's friendly. He loves Japan. When they give him when he stays over and they're like, oh, we only just have a futon and it's just in a tatami room, unfortunately. And he's like, oh, I get to sleep on a futon in a tatami room? Oh, that's so cool. So maybe he's a little bit of a weeb. I'm sure I can't relate. But yeah, he's such a sweetheart. He's so lovely, and he's very nice and patient and lovely with the young girl Kana as well. I will say for Mike, he's lovely and bubbly and welcoming and sweet, and it's kind of easy to forget when he's being all smiles and that, but then he has little moments where you're reminded that the death of his husband is very recent, and he has these moments of kind of grief, and you're reminded that he's going through some shit right now. Kana, the little girl, is absolutely adorable. She is, so you know when you get a kid who's just like, if we're at a swimming pool, right, and a kid wants to jump into the pool but they need your attention, and they'll be like, mum, are you watching? I'm gonna jump in the pool. Mum, are you watching? Mum, pay attention. Mum, I'm gonna jump in the pool. I'm gonna jump in the pool. Mum, pay attention. And then she jumps into the pool, and then as soon as her head pops out, she's like, Mum, did you see me jump? Mum. That's exactly what she's like. So she's full on with attention all the time, but in a very sweet way. And she kind of latches onto Mike the moment like she sees him. She's just like, oh, who are you? Where do you come from? Oh my gosh. And then every time, like when she comes back from school or when she wakes up in the morning, she's like, Mike, where's Mike? Is Mike gonna be here? It's very sweet. It's very cute. And her kind of sweet cuteness and very openness when she meets Mike, that she's just like curious and wants to know, and she asks questions, is a really nice pairing for like between her and her dad, because like she will ask very kind of child innocent questions about things, and like the dad will be like, internally he'll be like, no, you can't say that, what are you doing? But then like he sees that the interaction between an innocent question from Kana and the, you know, the reply from Mike is just a very natural, like, oh, it's just they're just explaining something, and it's very simple. And I feel like from her innocence and her easy acceptance of Mike, I feel like is going to help Yaeji overcome some internal conflict. There's this really adorable moment between father and daughter when Mike is out. I think he's away for some point, and the dad has realized that Kana just loves Mike, and he's just like, what, why do you like Mike so much? And she's just like, Mike is really tall, and he looks like Santa, and he's from Canada, and the dad's like, do you even know where Canada is? And she's like, America? But there's this great moment. There's also this great moment where the end of her like listing of things that she likes about Mike is again this sort of like this wonderful automatic acceptance that she has of Mike. Is like one of her reasons that she likes him is that he is my Canadian uncle. And that's it. He's my family. That's it. She just accepts him like, you're my new uncle. I've never met you before. Great. Awesome. This is wonderful. So yeah, she is a great person to have in this type of story. I think it's wonderful. I love her. She's great. Yeah, but yeah, those are the characters. Those are the story. I really like it just in general, whether you want to read this in English or Japanese. I do recommend it. I think it's very good. As I say, I haven't read beyond volume 1, so for that I can't speak for it. But yeah, excellent story. I really enjoyed it. As for the Japanese, because I'm reading this in Japanese to try and help improve my reading skills, I think this was a really good pick. I found that I could go through several pages quite nicely. There's nothing, again, because it's like a lively life story, there's no sci-fi stuff happening or fantasy stuff happening. As much as I can't wait to read those types of stories, all the sort of dialogue, all the sort of vocabulary in that is all normal day-to-day stuff. So it makes for for good practice, good reading. One of the interesting things is, as we clearly have a character who is not Japanese, while a lot of the time once you get into the story, he's just speaking in Japanese, the writing is regular. Like where sometimes when he'll say things like, oh, good morning, or thank you, or words like that, they will write it in katakana rather than hiragana. So the Japanese katakana, the alphabet that's usually reserved for writing words that aren't native to Japanese, like my name would be written in katakana, London would be written in katakana, all that sort of things. But usually you wouldn't use that if you were saying something like good morning, or oh thank you, or oh, excuse me. But writing some of Mike's words in that way kind of is a good visual representation to show that, well, I think it's a good representation to show that he has a bit of an accent. So he's saying the word, but maybe he's saying it with a slight accent, basically, with his Canadian accent. I found that very interesting. I did. There were a couple of times when the dad would, I don't know if this is a thing, this is my interpretation, but the dad would use some kanji that I would see and I'm like, oh, I don't know what the kanji that is, I have to look that up. And when I do, I look it up and it turns out that it's just the kanji for a very common word that I already know, and it usually you use a completely different kanji. And I can't say for sure, but it made me feel like he's using older kanji that isn't in use anymore, and I wondered if that was to represent his more older views, perhaps. I don't know, maybe that is completely wrong, because it might just be the author trying to represent their speech, but I don't know, that's what it made me feel. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this, both for the story and for it kind of matching my Japanese level. So I'm currently like N4 level, which I think is like, am I pre-intermediate, I guess, I think. Anyway, if you're of a similar level, this is a good one to try to do some reading with. Yeah, definitely recommend that. Let me know if you read this, whether in Japanese for practice or whether you've just read the story, because I would love to get other people's thoughts on this one. I know it hasn't been turned into an anime, but I believe it's been turned into a live action TV show in Japan. I haven't seen that either, but I feel like I might want to check that out. I think that could be interesting. That could be interesting. Yeah, I feel like I will have to stop going on there, because I feel like if I continue going on, I will just want to tell you more and more details about the story, and I want you to enjoy it, so I don't want to tell you too much about the details. Again, let me know if you've read it in Japanese or English. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you've read Beyond, let me know if you think it's worth continuing on as well, because I think I am interested in continuing on the story. Yeah, so for now I will let you get on with the rest of your day, and remember, may your grammar be structured and your vocabulary varied. Bye!